All right, Steven Soderbergh has a new film, Kimi, which we watched last night.
Yeah.
And this stars Zoe Kravitz as Angela Childs. Um, Not Julia Childs. An agoraphobic or an agoraphobic. Agoraphobic is the
Agoraphobic.
most commonly we used version of that. Seattle tech worker uncovers evidence of a crime during the COVID-19 pandemic in Seattle. That's it. That's the first one. I thought it
Yeah.
was separated because it was two different
Nope.
paragraphs or something. That first one was an actual description of this. Anyway, she works for this thing called Kimi, which is an Alexa, and the difference is that they fix the mistakes. So there's technicians that are hired, like Kimmy, and she does this from home because she's agoraphobic. And she goes in and she listens to mess ups that Kimmy couldn't understand to make her a better learner and understander of people's requests so that they can get to the root of the problem. So Kimmy listens to all sorts of Alexa type messages like, hey, Alexa, what's this? And then Alexa doesn't understand it. So she, types in some code to make it understand what they meant, slang and whatnot. And so during that, she thinks that she witnesses the sound of an attack or sexual assault or something. Something went wrong. And she tries to get to the bottom of it. And throughout that, she starts to uncover some secrets that lead down some dark roads and make her, have to question whether or not she can get the fuck out of the house. So I think that this is a pretty stylish, sleek film. It's got that kind of hippie edge, hip edge to it.
Yeah,
Right?
I actually like the style a lot. I love her apartment. I think it looks super cool. I like her look especially. Her hair is adorable, and just
Yeah.
like the outfits she wears and all of that I'm really into it. And because obviously we spend most of the time with her, so it definitely is like very chic style.
Yes. So the style's cool. And so it's mostly like a dramatic thriller, right? It starts kind of more of a personal tale of just focusing on her and her day-to-day life and dealing with her anxieties and her agoraphobia. For some reason I want to say the other one sometimes. And really just how she's basically screwed up most of the relationships within her life, pushing people away in safety of not having to deal with things because of her anxiety, right? Like a lot of us people with anxiety, we can definitely do that.
Yes.
And so all that's good. And there are some really cool moments in the film that we were like, oh, you never see that. You never see, these people doing something like this, right? Usually you see it the other way around and it's like you roll your eyes and you go, come on, that's not believable. And they do some things in here that are very believable and are like, okay, finally, cool. I'm glad we see that.
We were really rooting for the situation.
But then the last 5 minutes of this movie has some really questionable shit. Now, the film, it's weird because the villains in this movie, one of my major gripes with the film is the villains. I think the villains feel like villains out of a kids movie.
Yeah, they do. They have that Home Alone vibe, and I agree with you. I think that if they had made the villains more
menacing,
not even
and intelligent,
but menacing and intelligent, but almost even more vague and shadowy,
to see it maybe it's more in her head.
Yeah,
sure.
I really think I would have preferred that because so much of the film is centered on her anxiety and agoraphobia, and it's. We talked about it while we were watching that she's very unlikable a lot of the time. And it's interesting because, we both have anxiety. So you can kind of see, like she's like why she's acting the way she is. Like she's pushing people away and being a
self-destructive
bitch because
behavior.
because of her anxiety. But it doesn't really, even like knowing that and having anxiety, it was kind of hard to connect with her in some instances, but at the same time it made her feel super real,
super authentic,
and very authentic, because I thought her acting was fantastic. She really got down, like even these like physical tics and mannerisms, and like all of it was spot on for somebody who has anxiety.
Performance is fantastic.
But the villains, like, it definitely, once we started to actually meet them, it was like, that's not. But, on the other hand, she's so freaked out, in general, that maybe, like, that was enough to still be scary for her, because she's scared.
Maybe because Buzz from Home Alone was in this movie. He gave him some pointers and was like, hey, how about you make one of the villains really tall, and then the other one really short, and then there's like some goofy antics with them, and they're like, okay, Buzz, your movie was the top 10 grossing movie of all time once upon a time.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll learn from you. It was a little homage to Buzz being in the movie. Yeah, because she is home alone throughout the film, right? And she kind of has to protect herself, and then Buzz comes into the movie from Home Alone, and then you have one tall villain and one short one. It's just, I don't know, man. I was really bummed out at the last 5 to 10 minutes, and I really didn't like the villains from the get. I felt them to be very out of place, but I didn't really get that full on like kids movie villainry until the very end, like the last 10 minutes. Then I was just like, okay, these guys are fucking idiots, and it's not believably stupid. And there's a moment at the very end where Kimi is graced an extended period of time to do and say a lot of shit without reactions from anyone else. And it is so laughably unbelievable that I just was like, wow, that really knocked this film down a lot for me. Because, come on, how do you make the film that believable? But what I was going to say was like, the film, it's because of the villains and that last 5 minutes that it almost feels like the film isn't meant to be taken fully seriously, but the whole rest of the film is like you need to take it really seriously. But it's really, I don't know. I
think that it's supposed to be so. Angela is like, she's very intelligent, and it's really her anxiety, of course, getting in the way of everything. And I felt like the ending is, kind of supposed to be her being really witty and sharp and like clever and like besting them. But because the villains weren't really set up as being super intelligent themselves, or even having like, a lot, it didn't even really feel like they were that experienced at times. Like, I don't know, it was like very amateur. That doesn't hit as well, like her, kind of stepping up to the plate and, reclaiming her strength. Like, it doesn't land the right way.
No.
But the rest of the film is really serious, and I think could be really triggering for a lot of people, especially because it deals with COVID. And I think that, a lot of people, when we were in lockdown, and people, who've been quarantined, like, it is really easy to get into that fearful mindset of, just not wanting to go outside again, or, being afraid of being around other people and germs and all of that. And COVID was really tough on a lot of people with mental health issues.
Sure.
So I like that the film deals with that, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more movies and content coming out that's kind of talking about COVID, because it's, it's not finished, obviously, but just the initial days, and it's cool to see it, because it's like, I don't think people really understand how much like collective trauma we're gonna have from it yet. Sure. Like, it's still sort of unraveling, but so I really like that, that the movie delves into it.
Yeah, and film has always, discussed current events, like within film, it's always a product, it's a social commentary, like that's been filmed from the beginning of its inception, and I think people just seem to forget that when this whole like, oh, this is an agenda or this and that. It's like film has always been a product of its time and its political messaging and where people are collectively and kind of general consensuses and pushbacks and outliers and just voices from different places and pushing the envelope and whatever and pushing agendas, so to speak, to make them more normal. So it's a good film hampered by its really poor ending for me. But the ending is really the last like 10 minutes, not even the full last act. It's like the last 10 minutes. Man, like I can't get over the one scene that I'm referring to because it just was like, whoa, how much time are we going to get here?
Yeah, it was excessive.
It was so ridiculous because it was almost like there was a tipping of the IQ scales.
Yes.
Where it was like she gained 100 IQ from the villains.
And they were like,
whoa, what's going on? And she was just like, I'm a genius. And they're just like, bleh. But she's not a genius. That's what you couldn't pull that off. If you went to go do that, you'd be an idiot. Yeah. But she pulls it off, so she gets away with it. So she's a genius. Mm-hmm. It's a genius move only because everyone else around her is a moron, right? So it's a moron move where you're only smarter because everyone else is even more moronic than what you did. So you're like the smartest person with Down syndrome.
Oh.
Is a joke from Waiting. Don't get all up in arms.
The smartest.
You ever seen Waiting?
I feel like I have like a long time ago, so I don't have a good memory.
Oh, Monty, you're the coolest guy at Shenanigans. That's like being the smartest kid with Down syndrome. It's a great joke. Probably more offensive today. I don't give a fuck. All right. Let us know if you watch it. Bye.
Bye.